The bar hummed with life, neon signs bathing the room in a reddish glow. Laughter bounced off the wooden tables, clinking glasses punctuating the air thick with the smell of beer and fried chicken wings. I leaned against the counter, nursing a lukewarm beer, the buzz of the wedding after party swirling around me. It was our night, Emma's and mine, and I should have been grinning like an idiot. Instead, I felt off, like a stranger in my own story. Maybe it was the alcohol. I wasn't good with it. Even a couple sips left my head spinning and my stomach sour. The doors banged open, cutting through the noise like a gunshot. Heads turned. My gut clenched as M strutted in Emma's ex from our college days, all tuxedoed up with a red rose pinned to his lapel, hair slicked back like some wannabe movie star. "Emma, congrats," he boomed, voice loud enough to rattle the jukebox. What the hell? This was our wedding night. He wasn't on the list. I shot a look at Emma, expecting her to stiffen, maybe snap at him to leave. Instead, she laughed, too loud, too bright, and waved him over. What are you doing here?" Her tone was warm, like she'd been waiting for him. My fists tightened around the bottle. Was trouble, always had been. Back in college, he'd been the outdoors club hot show toter, cocky, flirting with anything that moved. I'd hated him then, and now, seeing him crash my night, my blood simmered. Emma didn't seem to care. She let him sling an arm over her shoulder, giggling at whatever he muttered in her ear. The room shrank, the air too hot, too close. Snatched the CD from the jukebox, tossing it up and catching it with a smirk. "Let's crank this party up," he shouted. The crowd whooped, oblivious to the storm brewing in my chest. I took a swig of beer, but it only made the queasiness worse. My head throbbed, the edges of the room blurring. "I'm out," I muttered to Jake, hovering nearby with a worried frown. "You okay, man?" he asked, voice low. "Yeah, just too much." I jerked my chin at the scene, grabbed my jacket, and shoved toward the door. The night air hit me like a slap, cool and sharp. I sucked in a breath, trying to shake the weight pressing on my ribs. Something was wrong, I could feel it, gnawing at me. I glanced back through the smudged window. Emma and heads bent close, her laugh ringing out again. A pang sliced through me, sharp and cold. Wedding jitters, I told myself. That's all. I turned away, footsteps echoing on the empty street. The quiet wrapped around me, but inside, a storm churned. Whatever this was, it wasn't over. Not by a long shot. The bar's neon sign buzzed faintly as I stepped into the night, the cold air nipping at my face. My head throbbed not just from the beer, but from the sight of Emma laughing. M's arm slung over her like he had every right. I shoved my hands into my pockets, hunching against the wind. Wedding jitters, I told myself, just nerves. But the knot in my stomach tightened with every step. Halfway to the hotel, my phone buzzed. Jake's text. "You good?" I stared at it, thumb frozen over the screen. What could I say? That I ditched my own wedding party because my wife's ex was too cozy with her? That I felt like an idiot for walking out? I stuffed the phone back into my pocket, unanswered. The hotel lobby was hushed, the clerk barely glancing up as I passed. I jabbed the elevator button and slumped against the wall, the low hum filling the silence. My reflection in the metal doors looked raw-tired eyes, wrinkled suit. The doors parted and I stepped in, hitting the 5th floor. The ascent dragged, each number ticking by like a countdown to a truth I wasn't ready for. In the room, I kicked off my shoes and flopped onto the bed, the mattress groaning. The ceiling fan spun slowly, shadows dancing on the walls. I shut my eyes, fighting the nausea, but Emma's laugh and M's smug grin looped in my mind, squeezing my chest tighter. Another buzz. Jake again. "M's still here. Emma's trashed. You coming back?" I bolted upright, the room swaying briefly. Part of me itched to charge back, yank him out by his ridiculous tuxedo collar, and tell him to keep his hands off my wife. But another the part that saw Emma's face brighten when he showed up whispered it wouldn't change a thing. I flicked on the television, the remote slick in my hand, desperate for distraction. A talk show blared, the host cackled scraping my nerves. I muted it, silence crashing back. My stomach twisted, the beer heavy as stone. Food sounded awful, I'd probably puke. A third buzz. A photo from Jake, Emma, and Em at the bar, heads closed, her hand on his arm. My throat closed up. I zoomed in her smile wide, cheeks pink, his eyes sharp, victorious maybe. I hurled the phone onto the bed, fury boiling over. Enough. I wasn't some sap who'd sit here while my wife flirted with her ex at our wedding party. I snatched my jacket, the fabric coursed against my skin, and stormed out. The elevator dropped fast, anger fueling me. I burst through the lobby doors, the night air biting harder now. The bar was a block away, but my legs dragged like they were stuck in tar. My mind raced. What would I say? Do? I imagined pinning him against the wall, demanding answers. But doubt slithered in, icy and sharp. What if Emma didn't want me there? What if she was happy with him? I stopped outside the bar, music pulsing through the walls. Through the window, I saw them, Emma leaning on the counter, Em next to her, shoulders brushing. She laughed, head thrown back, her hand grazing his arm again. My chest hollowed out, a dull ache spreading. I clenched my fists, nails biting into my palms. I turned away, the fight leaking out of me, replaced by something heavier resignation. I couldn't go in. Not like this. Not without knowing where I stood. I took a ragged breath, the cold burning my lungs, and trudged back to the hotel. Each step weighed me down, uncertainty pressing hard. Back in the room, I sank onto the bed, staring at the ceiling. The fan turned, oblivious. I closed my eyes, but sleep stayed out of reach. Instead, I replayed the night Emma's laugh, Em's smirk, that damn photo each memory slicing deeper. It spun in my head, a storm I couldn't outrun. I didn't know what came next, but one thing was clear. This wasn't the end. Not yet. I lay sprawled on the hotel bed, the mattress sinking beneath me like quicksand. The room was too quiet, the silence pressing against my ears. The television flickered on mute, throwing jagged shadows across the peeling wallpaper. I'd left the bar an hour ago, restless and buzzed, unable to shake the gnawing unease that had settled in my gut. My phone sat on the nightstand, its blank screen taunting me. I kept glancing at it, half expecting a message from Emma, half dreading what it might say. She's probably still laughing with Em, I thought, bitterness creeping in. I tried to push it away, flipping through channels I didn't care about, but the feeling clung like damp smoke. The phone buzzed, a harsh rattle against the wood. I snatched it up, my pulse kicking into overdrive. Jake's name flashed on the screen, followed by 2 texts. Get back here now. Then, Mike, serious shit. My stomach lurched, a cold sweat prickling my neck. I hit call, my fingers clumsy. What's going on? I barked, my voice rough from whiskey and worry. Jake's breathing was uneven, like he'd been running. Emma left with Em. Sarah saw them head into a motel down the street. The words slammed into me, stealing my breath. I sat up, the room tilting as my mind scrambled to catch up. You're kidding, I said. But the denial felt hollow. Jake wouldn't make this up. Sarah wouldn't either. Meet me there, I said, already on my feet yanking my sneakers on. I didn't wait for Jake's reply, just grabbed my jacket and bolted. The hotel's stale, carpeted air gave way to the sharp bite of the night as I hit the street, my boots pounding the pavement. The motel was only a few blocks away, but the run felt endless. Streetlights blurred past, their sodium glow staining the asphalt yellow. My lungs burned, my thoughts racing faster than my legs. This can't be happening. Not tonight, not on our wedding night, but the pieces were falling into place. Emma's flirty laugh at the bar, her hand lingering on Em's arm, the way she'd brushed off my questions with that tight little smile. I'd been too drunk on Lover, maybe just too drunk to see it. I rounded the final corner, and there it was, the motel, its neon sign buzzing faintly, the word vacancy flickering in pink and green. The parking lot stretched out under the sickly light, gravel glinting like broken glass. Jake stood by the entrance, his face pale and drawn. Sarah was beside him, arms crossed tight, her eyes darting between anger and pity. Liesheim's girlfriend paced a few feet away, her heels clicking furiously, her expression a storm ready to break. "You okay?" Jake asked, stepping toward me. I shook my head, catching my breath. "Where are they?" Sarah nodded toward a door on the ground floor, number 7, its paint chipped, the numeral dangling crooked. "They went in there about 10 minutes ago." Lisa halted, her voice slicing through the air. "I knew it. I knew he was still screwing around with her." She fumbled with her phone, her fingers trembling as she scrolled. "I hired a pie a month ago. Caught them sneaking into motels twice already." My chest tightened, a vice squeezing my ribs. "What?" She shoved the phone at me. Photos loading on the screen grainy, unmistakable shots of Emma and M. One showed them ducking into a motel, her hair spilling over her shoulder, his hand on her back. Another was time-stamped yesterday, the day before our wedding. I swiped through them, my hands shaking, each image carving a deeper wound. The door creaked open, and there they were. Emma stumbled out first, her hair tangled, her dress wrinkled. M followed, smirking like he'd just won a bet, his shirt half untucked. They froze when they saw our group, the smirk sliding off M's face like wet paint. "Mike?" Emma's voice was thick, slurred with booze. "What are you? What the hell is this?" I cut her off, my tone low and lethal, a growl building in my throat. She blinked, swaying on her feet. I was drunk. We were resting. It was so flimsy it almost made me laugh, but the rage boiling up swallowed any humor. Lisa stepped forward, her voice cold as steel. "Resting? Is that what you call it?" She flung a handful of printed photos at them, the glossy sheets scattering across the gravel. "You've been cheating on me with her for months, Em. And she spun to Emma. "On your wedding night? With him?" Emma's face crumpled, tears pooling in her eyes. "Mike, I'm sorry, I didn't mean." "Save it," I snapped, my fists balled so tight my knuckles ached. "You think I'm stupid? You think I didn't see this coming?" I gestured to the photos, my voice climbing. "These are from yesterday, Emma. The day before we got married." Em tried to slink away, but Jake blocked him. His jaw clenched. "Don't even think about it." Sarah moved closer, her voice shaking with fury. "This is disgusting, Emma. Who does this? On their wedding night?" She glanced at me, her eyes softening. "Mike, I'm so sorry." I couldn't meet her gaze. My eyes were glued to Emma, her sobs growing louder, black streaks of mascara running down her cheeks. A small, stupid part of me wanted to reach out, to wipe her tears and pretend this was a drunken mistake. But the photos, the cold, hard evidence blazed in my mind, undeniable. Lisa grabbed M's arm, yanking him toward her car. "We're done. Get in, I'm dropping you off at your place, and I never want to see you again." M mumbled something, head down, but she shoved him forward, her heels striking the pavement like gunfire. Emma reached for me, her hand trembling. "Mike, please, I love you. It was a mistake." I recoiled, her touch scorching. "A mistake? You've been lying to me for months, years maybe." My voice broke, anger cracking into something jagged and raw. "You made me look like a fool." She sank to the curb, burying her face in her hands, her shoulders heaving. Jake's hand landed on my shoulder, firm and steady. "Let's go, man. You don't need to be here." I couldn't move. I stared at Emma, the woman I'd vowed to love forever just hours ago, now a stranger sobbing on the sidewalk. The neon sign buzzed overhead, bathing her in its harsh, unforgiving light. My throat burned, my eyes prickling, but I swallowed it down. I wouldn't break, not here, not in front of her. Sarah knelt beside Emma, her tone gentle but resolute. "You need to sober up. We'll get you home. She looked up at me, apologetic. I'll handle this. I nodded, the weight of the night crashing down. Jake gave my shoulder a squeeze. Come on, let's get you back. I turned, the gravel crunching under my boots, each step dragging like lead. The night air cut through my jacket, cold and relentless, but I welcomed it. It sharpened my thoughts, slicing through the haze of shock and betrayal. Jake walked beside me, silent but solid, a lifeline in the chaos. The hotel loomed ahead, its windows dark. My mind replayed the scene in jagged flashes. Emma's tear-streaked face, M's smirk, the photos littering the ground like confetti. It felt like a bad dream, but the ache in my chest was too real. As we reached the entrance, one truth sank in, heavy and final. My marriage was over before it had even started. The motel parking lot stretched out like a battlefield, gravel crunching under my boots as I stood over Emma. She sat hunched on the curb, her white dress stained with dirt and tears, her face buried in her hands. The neon sign above buzzed erratically, its pink glow flickering over the scene like a dying heartbeat. Exhaust from the highway mingled with the damp night air, stinging my nose. Jake and Sarah stood at my sides, their breaths shallow, their eyes darting between me and Emma. Lisa paced near her car, her heels clicking like gunfire, while M lingered a few feet away, his hands stuffed in his pockets, his usual smirk replaced by a nervous twitch. Those damn photos Lisa had thrown lay scattered across the asphalt, each one a snapshot of betrayal. Emma and M laughing, touching months before she'd said, I do. How long, Emma? My voice came out low, cold, but it trembled at the edges, sharp with the pain I couldn't hide. How long have you been lying to me? She lifted her head, mascara streaking her cheeks, her eyes red and swollen. Mike, Her voice broke, and she swallowed hard. It wasn't like that. I love you. Love? I spat the word, and it burned my throat. You call this love? Sneaking around with him behind my back? I kicked at one of the photos, sending it skittering across the pavement. It landed face up. Emma in M's arms, her smile wide and unguarded, the way she used to smile at me. It was a mistake, she whispered, her hands twisting in her lap. I was drunk, stressed the wedding. Everything had just happened. A mistake? My laugh was harsh, jagged, cutting through the humid air. You've been seeing him for months. These pictures, I gestured wildly at the ground, my chest heaving, they prove it. You didn't trip into his bed, Emma. You chose him. She flinched, reaching for me, her fingers trembling. Please, Mike, I didn't mean to hurt you. I was confused, and Imhei was just there. It didn't mean anything. I stepped back, her touch grazing my sleeve like a spark I couldn't let ignite. Don't, I snapped, my voice cracking despite myself. Don't you dare say it didn't mean anything. You made me a fool. On our wedding night. M shifted, his sneakers scuffing the gravel as he edged toward the shadows. Jake's hand shot out, clamping down on his arm. You're not going anywhere, he growled, his knuckles whitening. Let go, man, M muttered, tugging half-heartedly. This isn't my mess. Not your mess? Lisa whirled on him, her eyes blazing under the neon light. She stormed over, her purse swinging like a weapon. You smug bastard, you think you can slink off after this? She grabbed his wrist and yanked him toward her car, her nails digging into his skin. We're done, M. Get in. He stumbled after her, muttering something I couldn't hear over the blood pounding in my ears. Lisa shoved him into the passenger seat and slammed the door, the sound echoing like a gunshot. She didn't look back as she peeled out, tires squealing against the asphalt, leaving a cloud of dust in her wake. Emma's sobs grew louder, ragged, pulling my attention back to her. She was on her knees now, clutching at the hem of her dress, her hair a tangled mess. Mike, please, she choked out. I'll do anything. I'll fix this. We can start over. I stared down at her, my fists clenched so tight my nails bit into my palms. Her words clawed at me, tugging at the part of me that still remembered her walking down the aisle, her eyes locked on mine, promising forever. I'd believed her the every vow, every smile. Now, those memories twisted like a knife, slicing through the anger to the raw hurt underneath. My chest ached, a hollow, gnawing pain that made it hard to breathe. I wanted to scream, to shake her, to demand why she'd thrown us away. But more than that, I wanted to hold her, to pretend this was all a nightmare I could wake up from. That was the worst part. I still loved her, even now, and it was killing me. Mike, Sarah said softly, her hand brushing my shoulder. You don't have to do this. Let's go. I shook her off, my gaze still pinned on Emma. She reached for me again, her fingers curling around my wrist this time, desperate and cold. Don't leave me, she pleaded, her voice breaking. I need you. For a heartbeat, I froze. Her touch sent a jolt through me, a flicker of the warmth we'd had nights on the couch, her head on my chest, the quiet promises we'd made. But then I saw the photos again, scattered like shrapnel, and the warmth turned to ash. I pulled my arm free, stepping back, my boots scraping the gravel. You needed him more, I said, my voice low and final. It's over, Emma. Her cry ripped through the night, sharp and guttural, but I couldn't look at her anymore. I turned to Jake, his jaw tight, his eyes steady. Let's get out of here, I said, the words heavy in my mouth. He nodded, clapping a hand on my back. Come on, man. We started toward the street, the motel's hum fading behind us. Sarah fell into step beside me, her silence a quiet comfort. The air was cold now, biting at my face, but it felt good clean, like it could strip away the weight pressing down on me. My legs moved on autopilot, each step pulling me further from the wreckage I'd left behind. But my mind wouldn't let go. How did we get here? I thought of our first date, her shy laugh over coffee. The day I proposed, her yes trembling with joy. It all felt like a lie now, a story I told myself to keep going. My throat tightened, and I swallowed hard, forcing the tears back. I wouldn't break not here, not yet. Halfway across the lot, I stopped. Against my better judgment, I glanced back. Emma was still on the curb, her shoulders shaking, her dress a crumpled heap around her. The neon light painted her in sickly hues, a ghost of the woman I'd married. Part of me ached to run back, to scoop her up and fix what was broken, but I knew it was too late. Whatever we'd had was gone, shattered beyond repair, buried under those photos and her choices. You okay? Jake asked, his voice low. I shook my head, turning away. No, but I will be. We kept walking, the highway's distant rumble filling the silence. The road ahead was dark, stretching into the night with no clear end. My heart pounded, a mix of grief and something else, freedom, maybe. Or the first faint stirrings of relief. Emma's sobs faded into the wind, and I let them go, step by step, until they were nothing but echoes. I didn't know where I was going, but I knew I couldn't stay. Not anymore. The shrill ring of the hotel phone pierced the silence, jolting me awake. I groaned, my head throbbing as I fumbled for the receiver, knocking over a half-empty water glass in the process. The cold water splashed onto my hand, snapping me fully awake. Hello? I mumbled, my voice thick with sleep. Mr. Thompson, this is the front desk. Just a reminder that checkout is at 11 a.m., a polite voice informed me. I glanced at the clock. 9:30 a.m. Thanks, I muttered, hanging up. I rubbed my eyes, the events of last night crashing back into my mind like a wrecking ball. Emma, the motel, those damn photos. My stomach churned, a mix of anger and betrayal twisting inside me. I swung my legs out of bed, the coarse carpet scratching my feet. The room felt suffocating, the air heavy with the scent of Emma's perfume and broken promises. I stood, my muscles stiff, and began packing. I yanked open the dresser drawer, grabbing shirts and socks without bothering to fold them. My hands shook as I stuffed them into my suitcase, the zipper's rasp echoing in the quiet room. A silk tie Emma's favorite slipped from my fingers, pooling on the floor like a dead snake. I stared at it, my throat tightening. I could almost hear her laugh, see her tying it around my neck with a playful grin. Then I kicked it under the bed, out of sight. I needed to get out of here, away from these memories. I pulled out my phone, scrolling through my contacts until I found Tom's name. Tom was a buddy from college who'd gone into family law. If anyone could help, it was him. I hit call, my heart racing. The phone rang twice before Tom picked up, his voice groggy. "Mike, it's early, man. What's up?" "I need your help," I said, pacing the room. "Emma and it's over. I caught her cheating last night." There was a pause. Then Tom sighed. "Shit, I'm sorry. What do you need?" "I want to file for divorce." "Today," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. Another pause. "Okay, let's meet at my office in an hour. Bring any evidence you have." I nodded, even though Tom couldn't see me. "Thanks, I'll be there." I hung up, slipping the phone into my pocket. As I zipped up my suitcase, I caught sight of myself in the mirror. My eyes were bloodshot, my hair a mess, dark circles etched beneath my eyes. I looked like I'd aged 10 years overnight. I sank onto the edge of the bed, my legs suddenly weak. How had I not seen this coming? There had been signs: Emma's late nights at work, her sudden interest in girls' nights out, the way she'd pull away when I tried to hold her. But I trusted her, believed in our love. Now, that trust was shattered, and I was left picking up the pieces. I clenched my fists, anger surging through me. I wouldn't let this break me. I'd rebuild, stronger and wiser. Pushing myself up, I grabbed my suitcase and headed for the door. I paused, taking one last look at the room, the unmade bed, the scattered toiletries, the life I thought I was starting. Then I stepped into the hallway, the door clicking shut behind me with a finality that echoed in my bones. The elevator ride down was silent, the lobby empty except for a bored clerk tapping at the computer. I handed over my key card, mumbling a thanks before stepping outside. The morning air was crisp, the sun just peeking over the buildings, casting long shadows across the street. I hailed a cab, giving the driver Tom's office address. As the cab pulled away, I glanced back at the hotel, a strange mix of pain and relief washing over me. It was over, but it was also a new beginning. I leaned back against the seat, closing my eyes. The road ahead was uncertain, but for the first time in what felt like ages, I felt a glimmer of hope. I was free. The phone rang, a sharp trill slicing through the stillness of my apartment. I set down my half-eaten pizza slice and wiped greasy fingers on a napkin, glancing at the screen. Unknown number. Something nudged me to answer anyway. I tapped accept and leaned back on the couch. "Hello?" "Mr. Thompson, this is Officer Daniels with the Metro Police Department," came a gruff voice. "We're calling about an incident involving Emma Thompson." My gut tightened, her name hitting like a punch. I hadn't heard it in months, hadn't said it in years. "What happened?" I asked, keeping my tone even despite the knot forming inside. "There was an altercation involving her and a man named M," the officer said. "She's in the hospital with serious injuries, and he's been arrested." I sat up, thoughts spinning. "Is she okay?" "She's stable, but it's serious," he replied. "We thought you should know, given your past relationship." I swallowed the pizza, now a lump of ash in my mouth. "Thanks for telling me, but I'm not involved anymore. We're divorced." "Understood," he said. "Just thought you should be aware." I ended the call, and silence rushed back in, thick and heavy. The television glowed faintly, a muted baseball game flickering in the corner. 2 years had slipped by since that night at the motel, but the memory still hid in the shadows, waiting to strike when my guard was down. I got up, pacing the hardwood floor, cool against my bare feet. The apartment was small but might have mismatched furniture, the faint whiff of coffee lingering in the air. Nothing like the house Emma and I once shared. I'd clawed my way back after the divorce. Therapy, new friends, a promotion. Piece by piece, I'd built something solid. The scars lingered, sure, but they didn't own me anymore. My phone buzzed a text from Sarah. Heard about Emma, you okay? I typed back fast. Yeah, I'm fine, thanks for checking. Sarah had been my anchor, her sharp edges and blunt honesty pulling me through the worst of it. She'd kept me in the loop about Emma's spiral job transfer, rumors, isolation. I'd listened, but stayed clear. Emma's life wasn't my burden anymore. I'd let it go. I grabbed my jacket and stepped onto the balcony. City lights glittered below, the air crisp with hints of rain and exhaust. Leaning on the railing, my breath puffed out in the chill. A flicker of guilt tugged at me. Emma was hurt, and once I'd have raced to her. But that mic was gone. I spent too long drowning in her chaos. Cutting free has saved me. Another buzz Jake this time, calling. I answered, his voice a warm tether. Hey man, Sarah told me. You holding up? Yeah, I said, resting against the wall. It's strange. I don't feel much. Just detached. That's progress, he said, pride sneaking into his tone. You've come a long way. I smiled, the tightness in my chest loosening. Thanks to you guys. I'd be lost without you. He laughed. Nah, you're tougher than you think. So, what now? I gazed at the skyline, a sprawl of possibilities. Now, I keep moving forward, one step at a time. We chatted a bit longer, the talk light and easy, before I hung up and pocketed the phone. The night hummed quietly, the city alive below. I took a deep breath, the cold air sharp in my lungs. For the first time in years, I felt free. Emma's shadow had hung over me too long, but now it was just a whisper, fading away. I was ready for whatever came next. I stepped inside, the apartment's warmth folding around me like an embrace. The future was uncertain, but it was mine, and that was enough.